All right, folks, I saw 14 new movies in the month of May. Today, we're going to talk about them and rank them. Actually, I saw more than that, but we're going to wait on Life of Chuck. By the way, I want to say thanks to everyone who's been supporting this channel as of late. The best way to do that is by dropping that like, sharing this video, but most importantly, leave those comments down below. I want to know what you think, what's your favorite movie of the month, and what's your least favorite. Speaking of least favorites, at least one that's close to that, we're going to start with Hurry Up Tomorrow, the Weekend movie about the weekend.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Death is nothing at all. It does not count.
Look, I don't want to use this video as a platform to smack talk the Weeknd because I like his music. I think he's a super talented dude. I love everyone involved with this film. Trey Edward Schultz, Barry Keoghan, Jenna Ortega. It is a stacked cast and crew. But this just didn't really work for me. And I had some complaints in my review. Austin, you just don't understand. You just don't get him. Okay, maybe. You might be right. I don't know. I like him as an artist. It never really went beyond that. This felt like such a personal story that could have been told in short film form. And I'm talking, there's way too much time spent on elements in this film that did not need to be there. There's some dialogue that's extremely cringeworthy. I don't know if it's the script itself or the delivery. And there were some lines that just didn't quite work. Jenna Ortega is really good when she's on screen, but I felt like her character was shortchanged. Same thing goes with Barry Keoghan. Just so many elements of this movie that didn't work whatsoever. And I'm so bummed out thinking there's so much opportunity here to deliver something super artistic, which visually they do. I thought visually this movie was great. Unfortunately, just watch a movie with your eyes, you listen with your ears. And that dialogue was rough. And this story just did not need to be as long as it actually was. And I understand the metaphors and what he's going for. I get all that. It just didn't work for me. And the more I thought about it, the more frustrated I got. Weekend fans, look away. I'm going Hurry Up Tomorrow on the awful tier. The Fear Street franchise is one that I really respected. Past tense. No, I still respect it. I think those first three movies are special. I'm not going to say they're unique. Each of them have their individual issues that may or may not bring the movie down a notch, but ultimately, I think as a whole, that first trilogy was rock solid. It's a rock solid horror trilogy, and how often do you get a trilogy like that where you've got different years and each of them are tying together, and there's a prequel and a sequel, and okay, that's cool. We never really seen anything like that. And now you've got the spinoff, 4 years later, Fear Street Prom Queen. Like I said in the video, you're talking to a guy who got prom king in high school. What did it mean? It meant nothing. It meant I was dumb and tried to make people laugh, but ultimately failed. That's why I got prom king. And what these characters feel like prom queen means in this movie, the worth of it all is so exaggerated to a ridiculous degree, because that is really the point that they're trying to bring home, is how they are willing to do anything it takes, whatever it takes, especially one of the characters, to get that crown. But in the midst of this magical prom, you have a crazy killer running around and slashing people, cutting some heads off, slicing some limbs, and that was actually, admittedly, pretty cool. Those scenes and sequences are awesome. I hate watching movies where you're just waiting on the main characters to die. But that's what I was doing with Fear Street, mostly because I didn't really care about anyone. I think the main character and her best friend, that is really the only relationship that I somewhat cared about in the movie. But ultimately, it's such a cliche series of events, like you know what these characters are going to do, why they're interacting with each other the way that they are, and every decision made is spelled out for you by the genre. It does nothing to stand out from such a crowded genre. And to be a spinoff of that Fear Street trilogy, you've got to bring something somewhat solid to the table, other than some rad kills all throughout this movie. And admittedly, those were really cool. I didn't really care about this movie, the plot, or the characters. And so I can't quite take it to the awful tier, but it is definitely bad.
Look out!
Okay, Clown in a Cornfield. This video it's had a negative tinge to it so far. And here we have the most generic name of the bunch, Clown in a Cornfield. I mean, you type that into ChatGPT, it's going to tell you exactly what this movie is, right? Well, mostly. It's a slasher. You've got a group of kids. There's a coming-of-age element to it, like there was in Fear Street, but this movie has a little more creativity to it. This movie doesn't end in the way that you're fully expecting it to end, because there's a lot more that it brings to the table, and ultimately, I was way more satisfied with every element of this movie compared to every element of Fear Street. It's still generic. I mean, with a name like Clown in a Cornfield, all right, what more can you do than what you already bring to the table? But I liked the kills a lot more. I think the characters are more interesting. And again, that third act, they do something here that's a little out of the box and kind of not what I was expecting. And so while Clown in a Cornfield sounded like it was going to be dumb, and there are moments that are dumb, but there's also a little sense of humor here. You know, I can't stand when a movie like this takes itself way too seriously. But there's a little humor here, a little ridiculousness that I appreciated, and it lets it stand out from a crowded genre just a bit to get it on that positive side. I'm not saying I loved it. I'm not saying, oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. It was better than it had any right to be. So surprisingly, Clown in a Cornfield gets an okay from me. It was definitely okay. Bring Her Back. Just did my full review, so I don't want to repeat myself. You can go check it out on the channel. I have a couple of interesting things to say about the plot, so I won't dive in. All I will say is that the filmmakers from Talk to Me were able to do it again. They were able to nail the tone that they were going for and provide something with a lot more, not a little more, a lot more emotional depth. A story that was far more interesting than expected. And a horror movie that is a horror movie, but it goes about scaring and horrifying the audience in a different way from maybe what you're expecting, right? It's not the generic, jump scares, those slasher-heavy kills, although there are some very gory and limb-crushing, limb-splicing elements to this film, one in particular involving a knife. But you've got two kids who are dealing with a horrible loss. They're orphans. They go to this woman who seems welcoming at the time. She's also dealing with a horrible loss, but the way they're both handling it, drastically different. Let's just say Sally Hawkins does a great job at being a little crazy in this film, as does a lot of the very few characters in this movie, but I just really like the relationship, the dynamic between the siblings. One of our characters in Piper, she is blind, so the way that she goes about things in a very different way, the way her brother helps her, but then the way her brother tries to protect her is really cool. And so, love that dynamic. The story itself, it's gruesome, it's very emotional, dealing with loss. I don't know if I fully loved the ending, but I really appreciate the attempt. And I'm going to take it and place it on that great tier, man. I had such a great time in the theater.
Drinks all around.
Final Destination Bloodlines. You never know if something's going to fly through that window right now and try to take me out. I love the opening. Holy smokes, man. That big giant, they're on top of the thing, and then the thing kind of goes down, and everybody's flying and falling and getting crushed in the elevator. It's one of the coolest Final Destination sequences I've ever seen. And then the way that they tie that into the story and how this family's just trying to escape this inevitable death that is coming for them. How do you do that? How do you go about that? How do you solve this problem? And how does our main character get everyone to believe her? Because they're kind of like, psh, whatever. Oh, MRI machine? Okay. What a fun premise, obviously, with all of them. But a sequel this far into a franchise usually has no right at being good at all. But the fact that this was as fun as it was, man, that's what they're all about, right? You want to have fun in the theater. Sure, I question some things and out of the realm of possibility. Yeah, for sure. But again, a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, but goes overboard with delivering what horror fans are looking for. I'm going Bloodlines on the good tier, for sure.
What am I doing here, Catherine?
We're tracking a high-value target.
The ghost is a black hat terrorist.
Deliver the mark to us alive, you get your life back.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in the Josh Hartnett-assance. The Josh Hartnett-assance? How would you say that? The last couple of years, he's been rocking and rolling, and I truly believe Fight or Flight was his opportunity to just lay back, have some fun, lay out some fools, smoke some fools.
Okay, guy, settle down.
When a star gets the opportunity to just be that John Wick-esque character, you saw Bob Odenkirk in Nobody, which I do like that movie a lot more than I liked Fight or Flight. Ultimately, Fight or Flight does have its fair share of issues. A lot of them spawn from the beginning of the movie where you're just getting this, very tropey series of events, these characters. What's happening off of the plane that we keep cutting back to, I'm just like, I don't care about this. Can we stay on the plane? Other than that, the action is really entertaining. And the plot, surprisingly, has some surprises in there. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be. They do try to flesh out these characters maybe a little more than even I care about. So I am going to go Fight or Flight on that okay tier. This is a rock solid time.
This can't all be true.
Your mission, if you choose to accept it. I'm going to get more hardcore every time I do that. It's Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. We know what this movie is. I just talked about it on the channel, so I don't need to go into grave detail. But as I have with every Mission Impossible movie, I thoroughly enjoyed myself, man. It's hard not to watch Tom Cruise, love Tom Cruise, appreciate Tom Cruise in these movies for everything he is doing for cinema. Yeah, some kooky stuff, but everybody's got kooky things. I've got kooky things. Look at the pop figures I have in the background. That's weird, right? You can't help but to love the guy for being so passionate about movies. I watched his interview on the Pat McAfee show, and that guy just oozes excitement. I want to talk to Tom Cruise one day. I don't do a lot of interviews on this channel, but if I ever get the opportunity, I'm going to do that because this man is just... His love and passion is infectious. Back to the movie, you see it once again in Final Reckoning. Is this plot a little overly complicated? Yeah. Is it way too long? Yeah. Is it the first time in the franchise where I've felt that runtime just hardcore by the end? Sure. But the final hour is amazing. It's trying to do a lot with the plot. It's highlighting other movies. Don't know if they needed to do that. Doesn't matter. You're still having fun. The set pieces are massive. The action is exciting. And the emotional elements that happen to the characters, you care because you love this franchise. So definitely imperfect, but I'm still going to go good tier because I can't help myself. Chris McQuarrie, he's a great director.
You want to talk about it?
My mom wants us to leave everything behind.
Sometimes it is the only way to move forward.
Karate Kid Legends. Man, it bums me out because I wanted to love this. I'm a Cobra Kai fanatic. I am a huge fan of what this franchise has done over the last several years. Reinvigorated, just effortless fun, this retro vibe that captures 80s nostalgia set in present day, blah, blah, blah. But then you've got this movie that is set in present day and doesn't quite have that magic to it. You're shoehorning in Ralph Macchio, which, I love me some Ralph Macchio, right? You can't help but to love Daniel LaRusso, but did he need to be in this movie? It felt like, and I know everyone has said this, it's two different ideas for two different movies, and strangely enough, I liked the first half more than the second half, even though the second half is why I signed up for this film in the first place. Yeah, the training of the older guy with that was weird. So why did that need to be in this film? But I do think it handled the idea of this imperfect teenager being able to train someone who is a bit older for a completely different sport, but allowing those ideas. Okay, that was interesting, but then you just go away from that completely and shoehorn in this big karate tournament by the end, and you're just like, does that matter? It's not all bad. Some great fights. I like this unproven actor, but it goes on the bad tier.
It's here. I can feel it.
Fountain of Youth. I didn't do a review on the channel because this is one of those films. I don't think it's terrible. I don't even think it's bad. It's just one of those movies that is in one ear and out the other, even though it's John Krasinski, Natalie Portman, Guy Ritchie, a really good cast. This is, a little bit of National Treasure, a little bit of The Mummy, obviously Indiana Jones. It has more of a quirky vibe like a National Treasure than those other films. I guess The Mummy, Brendan Fraser's Mummy, the definitive Mummy. We're not talking that Tom Cruise crap, as much as I love you, Tom Cruise. That movie stinks. But it has that quirky family charm, the family value feel to it. But there are times where some of the dialogue would make me think, oh, they're leaning harder into that PG-13 rating as opposed to what the tone and the vibe of the movie is in Fountain of Youth. I also like that Krasinski and Portman, even though their performances, it's more so the script that they're given, some of the dialogue and that very, tropey, genre-specific dialogue that they are given. I like that they're brother and sister. It's a very different dynamic in a movie like this. Instead of, lovers or that's my partner for 30 years. No, this is brother and sister. They haven't seen each other in a while. He kind of pulls her out of quasi-retirement, but it definitely has that early 2000s vibe and a script that's just everything we have seen before and nothing new or unique other than the two main characters being brother and sister. And pretty much everyone else on the team, I'm just like, I don't care about them. I don't even remember their names. I don't even remember the actors. This is such a forgettable film, man. Not bad. I didn't have a terrible time. Fountain of Youth on the meh tier, the definition of meh.
Why am I here? You think I want to make you pay for stealing my life?
How about another simple favor? Another simple favor. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's another simple favor? Oh, that's the name of the movie. I loved the first one. I thought Paul Feig did an awesome job. I think Anna Kendrick is amazing. Blake Lively did a solid job for what they needed her to be. But this time, there's two Blake Lively's. There's Anna Kendrick, Allison Janney, Henry Golding. These two characters, first of all, they shouldn't be in the same room as each other, but they're reuniting for this rich wedding. And the first time we see them interact, it's just so cartoonish, man. This film is so cartoonish. And while the first one had those over-the-top elements, everything was like smooth sailing. The dialogue was snappy. In this one, they try to have snappy dialogue, but it doesn't quite match up with the tone that they're going for. And ultimately, I'm watching this thinking, this is one of the most unnecessary sequels I have ever seen. I appreciate the idea of the sequel and going back to this world that was so interesting the first time around. But my God, man, some of the dialogue here, especially towards the end, getting a little bit of witty dialogue in there, but something happens to one of the characters. That's all I'm going to say. And oh my God, it's like I was watching a cartoon. It was so ridiculous within the way it was handled, the way that everyone operated within the scene and the moment. Were they just on vacation making this movie? It just felt like they were on vacation. You know how you feel about some of those Adam Sandler Netflix films where you appreciate Sandler for what he's doing, but it's like, it's just a bunch of friends hanging out. That's how I felt about this. And as a sequel for a film that I thoroughly enjoyed, no. I still like the main two characters and some of the interactions, but a lot of it was just unnecessary. That's why I'm going bad tier.
Howdy. Howdy.
Friendship was so funny, and not everyone's going to like this. If you don't like, I think you should leave. If you're not a Tim Robinson fan, if this isn't the type of humor for you, well, then you're not going to like this movie. I have been straight up with a lot of people, and a couple of peers of mine hated it, despised it with everything in them. And I get it, man. Comedy is such a subjective genre, and I'm never going to put anyone down for not having the same sense of humor as me. If that was the case, I wouldn't have married my wife. In certain ways, we have the same sense of humor. In other ways, I will show her memes, and you know what I get from her? Yeah, that's not funny. But my God, I thought this was hilarious because he has the shtick. It's the Tim Robinson shtick that he carries over from those skits that I know and love into this film. But the film also has a lot more to say about friendly or unfriendly dynamics between men and how men crave certain types of relationships and that bonding between friends and that love and admiration that you can have for someone else. But it becomes, in this film, a point of obsessiveness where he's kind of obsessed with the idea of trying something new, getting out there, not being the same old stick in the mud. But with that comes consequences of crazy things happening to him and his wife, played by Kate Mara. But you've also got that Paul Rudd performance in here that is, oh my God, man. I just love the way that he and Rudd play off of each other. It's so funny. If you like A24, it also has those elements, really good filmmaking, a script that does come together a bit better than expected. Definitely some moments that didn't need to be in there for sure. It's not a perfect story, okay? But it's the ideas that they are tackling as opposed to the story that they cram some things in there that were unnecessary. But the more I have thought about this, I'm actually going against what I was initially going to do. I'm going awesome tier for friendship.
You made it, okay?
Is there not like a harbour?
It's sort of nature's harbour.
Welcome to Wallis Island.
No.
The Ballad of Wallis Island. I'm going to do a separate, maybe a short on this film. Just here's a movie recommendation that nobody's talking about. Although some of you all were telling me to watch this. Some of my peeps in my Letterboxd comments, you guys were saying, Austin, you've got to watch Ballad of Wallis Island. Well, it didn't come to a theater near me, so I had to wait till it came out on VOD. I watched it, and this is why I have you all. Because I trust you all and I love you all, and that was a phenomenal recommendation. It is one of the best movies of the year. You have Tim Key, who plays Charles. He won the lottery back in the day. He's this quirky, strange dude, and he invites this singer that he has looked up to and loved his entire life to come and play or perform on this island to him. Tom Baston plays Herb McGuire. Carey Mulligan plays Nell, and Nell is someone that he used to perform with back in the day. They had a little bit of a split, and this relationship that he hasn't, I guess he's thought about, but hasn't been in the midst of in years and years, all of a sudden comes back to him like that because this guy on this island didn't tell him that he was inviting both. Everything at first is very awkward because this guy doesn't know why he's here. He doesn't know anything about Charles, who, again, is kind of a weirdo, but tensions are flaring. Old flames are coming back to light. There is so much to love about how this movie explores the relationships between these individuals. Let me tell you, some of these conversations, I love the sense of humor of this movie, first of all, but there are some moments where, you know, our characters are singing, they're fighting, they're arguing, there's a little bit of that love, that admiration there. I love this type of film, man. It's so subtle. Maybe some will watch this and be a little bored, but when you get to how everything kind of crescendos at the end, you will feel this sense of like, I'm glad I watched that. I'm so glad someone recommended this to me. So I could go on all day. We'll talk about it in another video, but The Ballad of Wallis Island absolutely deserves to go on that awesome tier. No doubt in my mind.
Your subordinates will be reported to DoorDash HQ.
Alexi, it's me. Open up.
Hey, we got a Marvel movie to talk about. It was at the beginning of the month, so I kind of forgot about it. Thunderbolts. We will be the heroes on the Wheaties books. Now, I've been telling people it has that Guardians of the Galaxy vibe. Not the same tone of movie, obviously, but that feeling you got when you saw a bunch of random characters, and I guess we've seen these guys before, so it's a little different, but characters you didn't think would get along in such an interesting way. They don't always get along, but I love the dynamics, and I love the way that this movie plays with their relationships, and maybe characters that I don't care about as much get a little shortchanged, but ultimately, man, I just love the way that they worked off of each other. I love that Bucky has been here before. That's why he's kind of the leader of this team. And maybe there are aspects of the story where I'm like, I need a little more from that. It doesn't build and build and then have that massive payoff. But the payoff that it gives you is one that's kind of working in a psychological way, like the tragedies of these characters' past, what they're dealing with now, how they cope with those elements, and the way that it kind of touches on mental health. I didn't think it would do that. This is a Marvel movie. It's getting a little deeper, and I knew from the creators of Beef, there would be something brought to the table here that we don't often get to see. Bob is a great character. Florence Pugh kind of steals the show. Her relationship with her dad is amazing. And then that final battle, which is a very different type of battle than what we see in the MCU. Now, the way that it ends, yeah, it's pretty typical, pretty cliche. There's, you know, those Marvel tropes and conventions, a little humor in there. But it's all about their dynamic, man. And as a team, I love this team. I love the Thunderbolts with the asterisks. Are they the Thunderbolts? No. So I was in between good and great, but the more I think about it, I just want to give it its flowers. And so I'm going to go Thunderbolts on the great tier. Big surprise.
We have apprehended a dangerous experiment. Where is he?
He escaped.
He's trying to find the police cruisers.
Ohana means family.
It's a Disney live-action remake. What do you want me to say about it, guys? We know how these go. Silly, stupid, dumb, unnecessary. Actually, this got a few elements right. Now, it got a few elements wrong. People have made that very clear to me and on Twitter and on social media to where it doesn't fully capture all of the messages that the original is going for. And I do somewhat agree on those points. But as a Disney live-action remake, you have to capture something for me to even start enjoying it. And I believe it does. I believe it gets a little bit of that magic that the original got. Lilo is wonderful. Stitch is wonderful. Some of these side characters are fantastic. The decisions made by those side characters are frustrating people. I get that. But as a film built for families, and one that isn't like, we had Snow White earlier in the year, not overly offensively bad at times, which Snow White had some elements I'm just like, what are they doing? I never felt that with Lilo and Stitch. I actually kind of felt some solid vibes. Like, this is cute. I really like what they're doing here. Some of these moments are wholly unique. They definitely botched a few of the side characters, and then one of them, he's not even in the movie. I'm like, well, I guess you saved money by not doing that, but come on. But as a live-action remake for families, that is cute. From the director of Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, it had some of those really sweet moments. I believe this does its job. Does it do as good of a job as the OG? No. Stitch, it's okay. It goes on the okay tier. All right, did you enjoy this video? Dropping that like's the best way to let me know. Listen, if we get enough likes on this video and my last tier list, Mission Impossible, we're going to start doing more of these. I'd like to do a tier list every 2 weeks. That's my goal. So if you all enjoy this, please do tell. At the bottom, hurry up tomorrow. This movie stinks. On the bad team, I'm going the dumb and unnecessary Fear Street spinoff on the bottom, followed by yet another Simple Favor, and then Karate Kid, which, love the actors, really love some of the characters, but the story just did not work. On the meh tier, maybe the most meh movie of the year, Fountain of Youth. And honestly, that okay tier looks about right. I'm keeping Stitch on the bottom. Fight or Flight was a pretty fun time, but Clown in a Cornfield had an ending that I kind of responded to. On the good tier, we're going to put Final Destination right below Ethan Hunt and Company, but both of them rock solid movies. So Mission Impossible at 5. At 4, I'm going to keep Thunderbolts in that spot because I had a little more of an emotional response to bring her back at the 3 spot. In the 2 spot, man, this is tough. I love both of these movies. This could change at any point, but I've got to go Friendship, just slightly below Ballad. Both of them incredible movies in different ways. Friendship had me cracking up. Ballad of Wallis Island had me very emotional. And when a movie can evoke that kind of emotional response, you're going to be high up on my list. That top 5, really that top 6, man. Is this the best month of the year so far? I think it is. Like, we had some stinkers. Honestly, some big-time stinkers. But you've got some of the better films of 2025 to come out. And I didn't even talk about The Life of Chuck, which is up there. And so I really enjoyed this month. I'd love to know what you think, how you're feeling. Did May work for you? Did you see more movies? Is there one you would recommend? All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.